This will appear to be a demotion. You'll have to play the part. It will heat up soon enough. This is good news, Dedra. Gorman will be yours to run as you wish. You'll only answer to Krennic, and he's got no time for anything but results. Gorman is a gift. Take it. Then win it.
Major Partagaz explains to Dira that sending her to Gorman will appear as a demotion, but will be the opportunity of a lifetime to work alongside Director Krennic on the Empire's secret energy project in the second and final season of Andor, currently streaming on Disney+. Okay, Bryan, let's talk about the best Star Wars that has ever happened.
Easily.
Season 2 of Andor.
We made it.
Yeah, were you excited going into the second season? Like, what were your feelings with the first season?
I loved the first season. I thought first season was top tier Star Wars. I was excited for season 2 coming into it. I was a little wary as far as like how they were breaking up
structure.
Yeah, the structure of the release of these episodes, 3 episodes at a time. Because each season is 12 episodes. They were breaking this up over 4 weeks, 3 episodes each. To me, I felt like because we were doing, the way they structured it out is that each 3 episodes was a year leading up to Rogue One.
Right.
So it felt like, okay, every week we're getting basically like a new Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
Something like that.
I mean, it's an incredible concept. You know, like the first Andor season, 5 years before Rogue One.
Yeah.
And then the first 3 episodes is 3 days within the year, within 4 years before Rogue One.
Okay.
Each segment takes 3 days. And I think that's fascinating too.
Okay.
We're watching like this intense moment in this significant year. And there's so much negative space around those days, around those stories. And when you jump from season 1 to the next year, or those 3 episodes, the first 3 episodes, you feel like a lot has changed. Cassian Andor, Bix, Dira, they've all gone through a lot, and we have to kind of catch up. And there's some excitement in catching up to where they are then. Then those 3 episodes end, we go to the next year, 3 days within that year. A lot has happened between those 2 years, and you got to catch up. It adds this energy, this propulsion to the watching experience. Like, you really got to pay attention when the next year starts. There are so many plots going on. There are so many characters involved in this season. You do have to hold a lot in your head while you're watching it. This is not a show that you can second screen. This is not Havoc. You can't do your laundry and watch it. You really got to engage.
You have to engage and pay attention to it.
And the ideas that are being discussed in Andor Season 2 are so incredibly relevant and are based on real historical moments. Tony Gilroy is, as the writer of this season, the head writer, is showing you the cycle of history and where we're stuck in it right now in 2025.
It's interesting because when we did our retro review for Revenge of the Sith, you had mentioned George Lucas and how fascism takes root, building within the Republic, and how George Lucas was a student of history. And it feels the same with Andor Season 2.
But the energy is different. I don't want to jump too far ahead in Season 2 of Andor, but compare Mon Mothma to Padme Amidala, right? So in Revenge of the Sith, Padme Amidala is sitting back going like, this is how liberty dies. With applause, nothing to do. Girl, you're in the Senate. You got a microphone. You can do something. You want to do something? Oh, meet Mon Mothma. Mon Mothma's going to do something. She's not going to sit back in her Senate position and just be like, democracy is dying, liberty is dying. No, she's going to engage. Welcome to the rebellion, girl. Like, Andor is active.
It's very active.
And it's filled with characters that are morally gray. They're making mistakes. Bad guys are doing good things. Good guys are doing bad things.
I mean, and then you're right. I think Season 2, it takes the characters that were introduced in Season 1, and you're right. It gives it's these morally gray characters. It's these compelling characters that they're not just bad or they're not just good. If you look on the Empire side, if you look at Cyril, if you look at Dira, if you look at like any, I know Cyril. We talked about that off air before, but so compelling, like how they introduce and how they expand on these characters.
This is why Andor is awesome.
Yeah.
We spend so much time with the Empire and the people working within the Empire and on the fringes of the Empire. And Andor's saying, like, these dudes making these monstrous decisions are not monsters. They're you. They're people. They're human. They're human people making decisions for reasons. Like the empathy that Andor Season 2 gives to Cyril and Dira is incredible.
And it makes you understand. It makes you understand, like, it not necessarily agree, definitely don't agree, but you understand because they grew up in this, like Dira basically was born into this. So this is all she kind of really knows.
She grew up in an imperial kinderblock. She was told that her parents were criminals. And she was shaped and molded into this position.
Exactly.
That's not taking away her responsibility.
No, not at all.
The choices that she makes.
Exactly. Nope.
What a great end to that character, though. All the imperial characters in this, I really enjoyed their endings. I wish it worked like that in real life.
We can only hope.
I think the mistake that we do when it comes to villains is we go, they're bad, they're evil people, right? And we lose the people part of that phrase, evil people. They're evil, they're people.
And people aren't perfect, and they make tough and hard and bad decisions.
They found their way there based on their own choices, also choices that were made for them, the system, all that stuff. Andor is very aware of all of that and wants to interrogate and explore it. And man, and they do it in a Star Wars setting.
I mean, and we've never seen it done in this way. This is, I mean, when you're talking about some of the most compelling television, I mean, I guess we can get into, do you want to go?
The 3 best episodes of TV that I've seen in the 21st century?
Dude, now, leading up to that, like I was saying, I really enjoyed those first 3 episodes with Mon Mothma and her childhood friend Tay, and then everything with her daughter's wedding. And
what happens to Tay?
And then what happens
her culpability and what happens to Tay? And how that then haunts her for the next 4 years.
And then the way those 3 episodes ends with that disco dancing, it was brilliant. So
party the night away.
After knowing what's about to happen to her friend. Great. So good. But we get through those first 6, and then we get to week 3, episodes 7, 8, and 9. And I have to tell you this, for me personally, it took me a while to kind of, I didn't watch them all in one setting. I just been kind of busy, so I would watch like maybe episode 4, then like the next day 5. We got to 7, 8, and 9. I was like, let me throw on 7. I'll see if I can watch 8. I'll see if I can watch it tomorrow. I blitzed through those 3 that night. I could not watch it.
When I got done with 9, I went into the other room where my wife was. And I was like, Lisa, you need to start watching Andor. You're doing it tomorrow. And then I like plopped her down in front of the television, like, we're doing our homework.
Clockwork Orange.
We're watching Andor. And by the end of that 9th episode, Lisa was in tears.
Bawling. But I was right there. I was right there with her, man. Because let's get into those episodes. The Gorman, we're in Gorman.
The energy project of the Empire. They need this mineral, this rock in the dirt. This beautiful planet that is obviously a stand-in for the French resistance during World War II, and maybe a little French Revolution thrown in there as well. And they just want to make their beautiful dresses. They've got the best fabric on the planet, in the galaxy, thanks to these spiders that twill all this stuff. But they've also got this rock that they don't know about that the Empire does, and they need it for their secret energy plan. And the Empire, to get that rock, uses propaganda and then violence.
And the way they use Cyril, and we had talked about this a little bit beforehand as far as, and you had said this, and I want you to talk more about this, where you said you think Cyril is probably one of the best written and most compelling characters in all of Star Wars.
Yeah, because it's so easy to see how he got there.
Yeah.
You know, what's brilliant about Andor is they already had the ending in Rogue One.
Oh, yeah,
right?
yeah.
So Tony Gilroy is able to look at where Cassian ends and where all these characters end on their mission to retrieve the Death Star plans and work backwards. And puts Cassian in season 1, episode 1 of Andor as a thief and a killer and somebody who's just desperate to find his sister, and somehow brings him into mercenary, into prisoner, into rebel. Right? And like that growth is beautiful to watch.
Yeah, his arc to
but
see
you need
that.
a mirror to that, right? And so Cyril is the mirror, to Cassian Andor. And Cyril is just investigating a guy who murdered some colleagues. You know, Cassian killed those dudes.
Yeah, he did in the first episode.
Cyril was able to figure it out and going to make his life the mission of finding the murderer. And in the process, tumble into the machine that is the Empire. And be manipulated by the system, but also his girlfriend. And he thinks he's a hero. He thinks he's doing the right.
Yeah, he's doing the right thing.
And in doing the right thing and looking for insurgents on Gorman, he's also falling in love with Gorman. And then he discovers, actually, I'm helping kill Gorman.
And that realization. And when you see that during that massacre, I mean, but then he sees Andor.
Right. So if George Lucas was writing this script, this is the moment of Cyril's redemption. He's going to realize that everything that I've been doing has been wrong. I'm on the wrong side of history. I can be better. I can actually join the resistance and make up for my sins. And Tony Gilroy's like, sorry, dude.
No. Yeah, you have to.
You don't get redemption.
No, you have to pay for your actions.
You got to pay for your actions. And his last moments in episode 8 are some of the most crushing,
heartbreaking,
and satisfying moments of television ever.
And this goes to what we were talking about when we talk about bad versus good in that gray area, because with Cyril, you really do feel for him. You understand the choices that he makes and who he's working for. He is working for.
He's a bad dude.
He's a bad dude. He really is. But in that moment during the Gorman massacre, I honestly couldn't help but feel for him.
Yeah, of course.
You know, you can't,
because the movie is recognizing the humanity of monsters. Right? And the title of that episode is Who Are You? And those 3 words, when they are delivered, that is like the best thing that character could have heard in that moment. Also the most devastating thing.
Right.
And then Cassian Andor is just like, what was that all about?
I know, it was absolutely fantastic. But that's the thing, and also leading up to that massacre, like the one thing I liked, and I talked about this in season 1, was just how efficient and tactical the Empire is in being able to kind of, like you were saying, the propaganda and controlling the narrative of everything that was happening on Gorman. The way they set all of that up, putting like their own men in the riot gear.
You know why, Bryan?
To control the
because
crowd.
Because that's history.
Well, exactly.
Tony Gilroy's just taking a moment in real life, not that long ago, in the late 60s, that happened in Mexico City, and putting it there on Gorman. And it went down like that.
It's crazy. And then to have the assassin up there to shoot, to ignite and start the riot, and then to, like you say, control the narrative, like like on Fox News, to say, look at this riot and look at this massacre.
Don't be listening to HoloNet News.
HoloNet News. There you go. So I mean, I just thought all that was harrowing. It was horrific. I mean, when you see the KX droids come out and they're starting to just throw people, like all of that stuff.
K2SO. They hold K2SO for so long in season 2.
Oh my God.
Alan Tudyk. Take a bow.
Please. 10, 11,
10, 11, 12 leading right into seconds before Rogue One. And yet still subverting my expectations, because we look at episode 10 and taking all this time now with Luthen and Clea, and then now getting some backstory on those characters.
And Clea, who has, we looked at her throughout this whole series as his assistant, and she's always been there, and even being there when Luthen started to lose it, as the person to kind of hold him together. But then when you start to see his backstory, or like her backstory with Luthen, I thought all of that was compelling.
Exceptional.
And then like she seems like she's kind of starting to fall apart. And like where her character goes, I thought was really, really well done.
And after everything that Luthen has done and gone through, poor Lonnie Young.
Yeah.
You know, my favorite spy, Lonnie Young.
Yeah.
Everything that went on with them to then be rescued in the next episode by Cassian against the wishes of the Rebel Alliance.
Yeah, because they didn't want to go,
because Luthen was doing, you got all these different factions within the good guys, quote unquote.
Yeah.
You got Saw Gerrera, you got Luthen, you got Mon Mothma and Bail Organa.
Yeah.
They all are kind of against the Empire, but beyond that, they've got some tensions there.
Yeah, they still got to work their things out between themselves.
They haven't become the rebel army.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what we're also watching over the course of season 2 of Andor.
I'll just say this. Watching the end of episode 12, leading into Rogue One, perfection.
It's great.
Absolutely perfection.
It's really, really, really good. I do think it makes Rogue One better.
A film
absolutely. That is already pretty darn good.
Absolutely.
I think it's a real darn good with the context of seasons 1 and 2 of Andor.
Yeah.
I do wish they could also remake Rogue One into an Andor vehicle and not a Jyn Erso vehicle. If we had more Cassian Andor in Rogue One, it would be even better.
I mean,
if we shift the perspective a little bit.
I don't disagree. I still think it does work.
Oh no, it works.
I do still think it does work.
But there's a part of me that's like, can we remake this? The most hopeful thing, though, about Andor season 1 and 2, and how it leads into Rogue One, and then Rogue One leads into A New Hope, and so on and so on and so on, is it shows how resistance isn't built of big things.
No,
it's built of little choices.
Yeah.
And if we go back to the massacre on Gorman in episode 8, and we look at the bellhop.
The bellhop, yep.
And rebellions are built on hope.
Yeah.
And how that notion is said by this bellhop in this massacre.
Yeah.
Who does one thing, against the Empire. It's a tiny thing, but that thing he says to Cassian then carries over into Rogue One.
And he sells that to Jyn.
And then Jyn carries that into her mission and the final mission, and that gets us to destroying the Death Star.
Yeah.
Tony Gilroy has talked a lot about how he saw Andor, the story of Andor, as a relay race.
That makes sense.
Guy gets a baton, passes it to the next guy, passes it to the next guy, and that's how you take down fascism.
Yeah. You just got to pass it on and just keep building upon everything that the last person has done.
It's the tiny acts of rebellion that you do every day.
Yep.
That matters.
Right. I like that analogy of the relay race, and then hopefully you'll get past
Gilroy's a smart man.
So what's your rating?
I said masterpiece. We love something, we give it a B+. We don't, we give it a B-.
Yeah.
It's a B+.
This is absolutely a B+. I don't think you'll see anything better this year on television.
I mean, this is my favorite thing that I've consumed, period.
Yeah.
I like this more than food.
Well, you got to eat, though, man.
Oh, I ate.
Yeah, two seasons of Andor.
If you liked what you just saw,
then check us out on YouTube at PGC TV Online, and we'll see you at the movies.